Hey, this is actress Carissa Lee Staples, and you're listening to the Oh Brother Podcast.
Welcome to the Oh Brother Podcast with hosts Dan and Mike Smith, brothers from the same mother with different opinions on movies, TV, video games, and more, plus celebrity interviews. Get ready, get set, it's time for the Oh Brother Podcast. Welcome back to the
We
Oh
are
Brother
back.
Podcast. We are back.
The what?
We are back. The Oh Brother Podcast.
I heard of that once.
Yeah, well, here's a funny thing. So, it's so much to talk about. I'm not even sure I know how to do this anymore. We've been off the air for a little bit, but we're back May 30th, 2022. When you're getting this episode, mark some milestones here. So we got to first talk about the fact that, first of all, when you're getting this, it's the new and improved Oh Brother Podcast. And this is clearly stated. Now, see, look, we're already screwing up, right? Because you may or may not be seeing this on video.
That's right. That's right.
So
we're doing audio only, and we're
so
doing visual things.
We're so out of it. But anyway, so we went on the air almost 2 years ago to the day. It was May 29th, 2020 that we published our first episode.
Right.
The highly anticipated and heavily downloaded top 5 films episode. And
was I a character yet?
I don't think you were on screen yet.
So I wasn't on screen yet.
Kind of like now, we've sort of regressed back into that, it seems like.
Right.
But anyways, first, a quick bit of business. For those of you not currently following us, make sure that you do. And the easiest way to find all things Oh Brother is to go out, of course, to our official website, which is OHB as in brother podcast.com. That's OHB as in brother podcast.com.
Check out the new logo.
You'll see the new look. We've got a new look. We're going to talk a lot about different things, and it's not necessarily just going to be movies.
The doctors fixed my neck. It's no longer broken.
Yeah, and they gave you some collagen injections in your lips, apparently. But so 2 years on here now, season 3, we've literally passed the 2-year mark. This actually also marks our legitimate 100th episode.
Yeah.
So that's another big deal for us.
That's a lot of episodes in 2 years.
Yeah, and we're slow. We're getting ever so close to that 10,000 view mark on Mulan on YouTube.
That's we're gonna
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. Yeah. So, any thoughts just thinking back on the last 2 years? What stands out to you,
Right now,
highlights?
What stands out to me is the last time we talked, it was Oscar time. And that was a burnout time. We watched 60 hours of movies. Forget the research. Forget watching extras.
Mm-hmm.
Forget, the other stuff we did. There was just 60 hours in watching movies.
Yeah.
And we were fried.
But what I found funny, you talked about the new logo. We've got a new logo. The website's, revamped and everything. And this is really to kind of illustrate and reflect the sort of new focus of the show, which is going to be, it's going to be much more diverse. Movies, television, streaming series, comedy, video games. We're gonna kind of open the doors
kind
up
of what's
a little
going
bit wider.
on.
Yeah. More broad pop culture commentary, I'd say.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, so you can't see this for those of you listening to the podcast, but this is what the 18th Oh Brother mug that I have
Something
in my
like
possession.
that.
Like I have a separate shelf now for just my Oh Brother mugs. And this one, the funny thing is, it says here on one side, ohbpodcast.com, of course, the website.
Right.
And on the other side, it says established May 29th, 2020. Okay.
Right.
Now on your mug, it says something different, which is funny because Mike's mug is basically advertising an entirely different show. So we're not gonna give any.
Not going to show it.
We're not going to show it. We're not going to talk about it. But I just found it, kind of hilarious.
I've spent over $350 in mugs,
and now you're spending money promoting other shows.
I know.
I mean,
I'm
good
making
Lord.
mugs for other things.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah. Maybe there's a little cross promotion thing where you get
maybe
going with
somebody
the
will
others,
do one for us
with the others. So, okay. So you were talking, you look kind of talking back about, it was the Oscars. We watched all these films. We kind of hit the wall, I think, with that.
Yeah, I think we were kind of burnt out.
And I think it crept up on us. Like, I don't really think I recognized it until after the fact, So, I haven't watched that many films in forever.
This is probably from the last time we were on. This is the least amount of movies I've ever watched.
Yeah.
In a chunk of time. And the other funny thing is when we went off the air with that Oscar show, my hair was really long and I got it cut really short and it's really long again. Well, I guess I should be thankful for that.
To you it is. It's not very long to the average
if you
person.
Could see it, but it's in my face. And
it's interesting you mentioned the Oscars because, the whole the story coming out of that, of course, was the Chris Rock, Will Smith incident. And then since then, we've now had this other incident with Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
And, it started me thinking, because we were going to talk a little bit about stand-up comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And in this episode, actually.
Right.
And I started thinking, maybe is this something where we don't want stand-up comedians to stand up anymore? Is that the new trend? It's like,
well,
Chris Rock getting slammed to the ground almost, and then Chappelle getting tackled, and
he got tackled
ridiculous.
Pretty good.
He did,
and they didn't even charge the guy with a felony, and he had a knife on him.
Well, and it just came out. I just happened to see it in the news where his attacker was, I don't know, a month prior or something like that. I think sometime previous to that episode.
His roommate.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, so there's a history there. Now that's a different case, though. I mean,
and
there's
it had
obviously
something to do with gay and lesbian joke. That's all I know.
Yeah, but that I don't even. I think I would allege that there's some mental health issues involved in that situation.
If you stab your roommate and jump on stage and tackle a comedian all in a month.
Right. Well, even with the Will Smith thing, you could make that case, right? There's clearly something going on underneath the surface that he hopefully is now taking the time to address. But anyways, not to go down the rabbit hole with that whole story.
Yeah, but comedy clubs are starting to put in more security. And believe me, somebody who's been up there, I don't want security guys standing there.
No, But this could bleed over into any public forum.
Right.
I mean,
right. Doesn't matter. It's not just like Paul. If I was a politician right now, I'd be a little nervous.
Yeah, but it's the bigger conversation about it from purely comedy. In the sense that, the freedom of speech and all of that debate where, this war on what you can say, what you can't say, who's offended by what, the cancel culture, whatever. So that's the scariest thing of the whole bit. It's just, I can imagine all these stand-up comics they're much more hesitant now when they're getting up on stage. And
I'm
in fact, there's a whole thing of Ricky Gervais's new Netflix special, I guess, it's been on the air less than, a day on Netflix, and it's already getting criticism because of some jokes he's made. It's like it didn't used to
say anything.
Did anybody ever see Lenny Bruce or Richard Pryor or any Red Fox? Like anybody from way back in the day? Like this is nothing new, and it used to be a safe space,
right?
Where for comedians,
anything goes.
Right? Anything goes.
It seems like Kathy Griffin crossed the line. And when she crossed the line, I don't know if things changed right away, but that had an impact. That went a little too far.
Yeah, I was listening to Bill Maher's podcast. He's got a fairly new podcast called Club Random, where he literally just brings in all kinds of various personalities and interviews.
Must be nice.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. It's you know what I don't like about it is, you know, there's no anybody that knows Bill Maher knows he's an avid marijuana supporter, and you know he partakes quite a bit, and he's all for legalization and everything. But he you hear him on the podcast constantly with the you hear
smoking.
the lighter. No, you hear the lighter going.
Yeah,
You know, and stuff, and they're pouring drinks, and it's kind of distracting. But anyways, he was talking to Howie Mandel on his most recent episode,
right?
And they were
heard comments from him.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
What?
Howie Mandel. Well, Howie Mandel said stand-up comedy is dead now.
Well, they were talking about doing the college circuit. Like that used to be comedians' bread and butter, you know, for certain comedians. They just skew to, well, we're going to talk about Carlin, right? And
Carlin and Shandling.
But Carlin in particular really focused in on that segment of the population at one point in his evolution. Yeah. Because it was the counterculture. That's where that's where the real Carlin felt most comfortable. So he thought, well, let me go where my people are. And at that time, he found that in the college crowds. But they were the first ones, I think Bill Maher would say, that started to turn. And all of a sudden, you know, you would consider the more liberal crowd, they were the ones going, oh, you can't say that, or I'm offended by this. Or it kind of started on the college campuses, ironically enough. But you're right. The Kathy Griffin thing took it to kind of a new level. Yeah. You know, because then it got swept up into the political arena.
Right. Because nobody hates him more than me. But, you know, a severed head, and, you know, it wasn't funny.
No. But again, like Howie Mandel points out on Bill Maher, it's called a sense of humor. Right. You know, and again, he's like, there's no such thing as too soon or too far or anything like that. But
right. And that's how, when I was learning comedy from other comedians and doing, you know, these nightclubs back in the 80s when they were everywhere, you know, you could literally do stand up every night of the week somewhere. Yeah. And before that, you had to find a coffee house. Carlin talks about, you know, standing on a street corner. Yeah. I don't think I could have ever done that. I don't think I would have ever had the courage to, even a coffee house. I'm not sure I could just get up in a coffee house and say, hey, everybody, enjoy your coffee. You know, hey, how about that? You know.
Well, it's way worse than that. I mean, the stories of they're like in a laundromat performing for nobody, and I mean,
and I did some pretty, you know.
Yeah, but you didn't do a laundromat.
I did nothing like that.
No, the worst you did was like a Comfort Inn or something, you know.
Yeah, and I don't think I could have done it.
You were at least in hotel lobbies back when I saw you. So,
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
sir, please.
Yeah, please. Sure.
I insist.
I don't know if you want to segue into the Shandling, because
that was riveting. It was a riveting transition there. It was a long followed by a squeaky chair.
What are you busting my hump for?
We're back, folks.
I was gonna.
Well, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I was gonna say let's transition this into the Zen Diaries of Garry Shandling. So, two things here. We want to talk about this documentary.
What is
First
this,
of all,
by the way? What is it?
I'll get to that in a second. But before that, if and when I die, I would prefer that my life be documented by Judd Apatow. Okay, you may not love all his films, but the guy knows how to do a documentary.
Yeah, ironically he did both of these.
He did both of these. So So one of them is the Zen Diaries of Garry Shandling. The other one is George Carlin's American Dream, which George Carlin's American Dream just came out.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize while I was watching it is the Zen Diaries of Garry Shandling came out in 2018. I had no idea it was 4 years old.
Wow. So it came out 2 years after he died.
Yeah. So I was watching a lot of Larry Sanders, the Larry Sanders Show. And
Right.
If you haven't seen the Larry Sanders Show, you can see it on HBO Max. Mike's got it behind him there on his shelf, which you can't see because, of course, this is an audio.
I have
podcast.
all of them. I have the Garry Shandling Show, the Larry Sanders Show,
Carlin.
which are two of the premier. I meant to look up if they're even available anymore.
So the Zen Diaries is a almost 4 hour. It's a 2-part, almost 4 hour documentary.
It's very long.
Basically chronicles his entire career. Literally from his childhood on up, his tragic childhood, actually.
He was a remarkable journalist of his own stuff. He journaled everything.
Right. And that's where the title comes from, the Zen Diaries, because he, as you said, he journaled everything. And much of it was him embracing this Buddhist philosophy. He was really sort of seeking, this.
He was always seeking
higher state of being. Yeah, but he was really trying to get in tune with that. Yeah, that aspect of being. In fact, at one point he talks about being and not doing, and it just gets very Zen. So hence the name. But so much
they could have. Don't you agree with me? They could have never made this when he was alive. He would have never let them use some of his most personal quotes.
Perhaps not, although Apatow talks about the fact that he was talking about putting out a book.
Right.
That with, about the journals, about the diaries.
Right, because
he was going to do something, some project.
Very early in the beginning, he's pulling out his notebooks from this, what do you call it? Remember when brides-to-be used to get these? What are they called? It's they keep it a hope chest.
Oh my God!
Right? You know what a hope chest is?
Mike always appealing to the demographic.
Well, for the older crowd, or my age, girls got a hope chest.
Mm-hmm.
They could have got it from their parents, their boyfriend, whatever. And inside that, they put the things they hope to, accomplish in life or whatever, things they hoped would happen. So he has this hope chest with just tons and tons of notebooks. And he's joking, okay, 1995 for the whole lot. But it's because of those notes we got into this guy's brain, his soul, you name it. I mean,
and it's a very inspiring, his search for meaning, I'll call it. It's really inspiring as the documentary goes on. And now Judd Apatow, of course, for those that don't know, now Garry Shandling, again, for anybody that doesn't know, he's always been one of my favorite stand-up comedians. And then when the Larry Sanders Show came out in the early 90s, what was it, about 92, 93, somewhere in there, it was
Wednesday night.
It's one of the greatest
every Wednesday night
comedies
it was
ever made.
Can't wait.
It's so good. An incredible cast. But Apatow, they knew each other from way back
before that. Apatow was a kid.
Yeah, and it's all told in the documentary.
You see it. Yeah, you see Judd Apatow as a teenager.
Right. No beard.
Pre-beard. Yeah, he goes to Shandling and asks if he can record him for his school newspaper or something.
He's
just like Shandling. When he was really young, he goes to the Comedy Store, and Carlin's. This is when the Comedy Store wasn't as big as it is now. And he walks up to Carlin and gives him all of his notes and says, "Would you read this stuff for me?" Man, that's something I could have never done.
That was
about courage.
That was a fascinating link between these two.
Yes.
Is, and the fact that these are both done by Apatow. Again, I just stumbled on the Zen Diaries documentary because I've been watching
Sanders.
And it was like, you may also like, and then I happened to, I remember hearing of it. I knew it existed.
I didn't know about it.
But then this, it's a fascinating chronicle of his life. A lot I learned about his brother, his older brother, I believe.
Yes, Barry.
Like 5 or 6 years older.
Yeah, 5 years older.
I never knew that story. And when you learn of it, you understand why he probably just never really spoke about it. Now, here's another interesting thing. You talk about the Carlin documentary. They both have
traumatic.
Yeah, but they both have these very odd relationships with their mother,
and they're both narcissists.
Yes,
they both personally refer to their mothers as narcissists. I thought that was fascinating that it was in both.
It was incredible,
and this is way back. And I never knew George Carlin had a brother. That was the first time I ever saw his brother. And is he still alive?
Pete Carlin, I think, right?
Peter? Yeah. He must still be alive.
I think so. I mean, that seemed to be fairly recent footage because he's in the documentary for Carlin, of course, talking about their past and childhood and all of that. And
he was the older brother by 5 years.
Yeah. A lot of similarities.
Yeah.
A lot of similarities, yeah. And then here's another kind of comparison that I drew between the two of them is you've got Shandling, who, again, he's kind of embracing this Buddhist way of living. And, it's interesting because doing that in the business he was in, I think is probably why it just was a constant tug of war between the two, right? You're in Hollywood, right? Where everything is about excess and superficiality and materialism and all of these things that just runs completely counter to the Buddhist philosophy, And then with Carlin, he's also trying to find himself, but in a much different way.
Right.
He starts off with the very sort of clean cut act and the hippy dippy weathermen and all those different phases.
Well, it was
until he strips that away.
Right. There was no HBO when Carlin started.
Right.
Of course, he kind of laid the foundation, through his, 14 specials.
Does he have the record?
Yes.
Still? Yeah.
It's right there. I have them
14 or 16. Yeah.
Yeah.
His last one, I think, was 2008, right?
Yeah. And still sharp, still pretty sharp. During the Garry, now I haven't seen the entire, I have to fess up, I haven't seen the entire Carlin because I just found out about Shandling from you, and that took 4 hours.
I couldn't believe you hadn't seen that.
Yeah. I went through such a range of emotions with that. I was sad for him. I felt really sad for him. There was times he was mean to people, and it wasn't the guy I knew. I always you said I loved his stand-up. I always loved him as a host more than a stand-up, although his stand-up got so much better as the years went on. But he should have taken over the Tonight Show. And he could have.
Well, but that was something you learned throughout the documentary, though, is that he seemed to have this internal clock or something that he knew when it was time to move on to the next thing.
Yeah. And plus, I didn't realize he was doing the Tonight Show. I remember watching him on the Tonight Show when him and Jay Leno were the guest hosts. Johnny decided to do 4 nights a week. So they both did, I think, Monday nights. And I didn't realize Shandling was doing his show, the Garry Shandling show on Fox. I didn't know those were happening at the same time.
Yeah.
That must have been a brutal schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And for somebody like him, as we find out, an incredible perfectionist.
Yeah.
That he's never satisfied. And I think that's the sadness comes from that. He put out 2 of the funniest shows ever. And Larry Sanders is so it'll always be relevant.
Yeah, it's kind of timeless.
Yeah, and you've been watching it and
repeatedly and the show itself, it was his attempt at trying to what did he say? Explore human behavior. It just so happened that the setting happened to be
right
behind the scenes at a talk show,
and a lot of it was just dead on. They were really mocking what it was like behind the scenes of a talk show, but then they kind of spun, like Linda Doucette, who was his girlfriend for a number of years, said we set out to mock a show and we became what we were mocking, which is pretty true. But
could you turn the volume up on that chair a little bit? I can't quite hear it enough. I mean,
only you.
No, trust me.
You.
If I leave this thing unfiltered and unedited, everybody's going to hear that chair.
See, you're going to go through
a different chair.
You're going to go through
this. And
take out
ridiculous.
Every squawk, and nobody's hearing it.
They are hearing it. They are hearing it. Yes. Anybody that appreciates podcasts and high quality audio,
anybody
fidelity,
that's bothered by the squeaks,
high fidelity folks,
and tell me that Dan's right.
I am right. You
They're
don't know
listening
what the hell
to the conversation.
You have no idea what you're talking
They're
about.
listening to the conversation, not the squeaking and squawking.
They're not. So speaking of OCD, another transition? No. I guess all this to say, I was going to get back into Howie Mandel because I had a revelation about him I wanted to share with you that I bet you don't know. But before we wrap up on the documentaries by Apatow, I guess all of that to say that these are must-sees.
I would say, and like I said, I didn't, the lawsuits and just, it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I mean the amount of footage he has, the things that you haven't seen,
you've got to. You hate physical media. You've got to get this box.
Media. Yeah, don't hate physical media. But
you should own this box.
That's a bit harsh. All right, so the Zen Diaries of Garry Shandling, George Carlin's American Dream, both are on HBO Max. Yeah. It's kind of interesting too. Some of the Larry Sanders bits, it's just some of the things. First of all, when you're going through the Larry Sanders series and you see some of the people that are like Bob Saget's gone and Robin Williams is gone, and like there's so many people
Anderson.
on there. Yeah.
There was someone he was mean to, was Bob Saget. Bob Saget was 22 and Garry was 20 when they started.
Oh, yeah. They talk about
Garry didn't have a manager. So Bob Saget introduced him.
To Brad Gray.
Right.
And then right. So that's
whole thing went south. I don't know who I'm more shocked about. Bob Saget, who did he spend his whole life on the phone checking in on everybody except me and you? I mean, Saget? I can't believe. Yeah. I can't believe how everybody says, yeah, he called me like every night. And I swear to God, he must have sat down at 6:00 and just
Bob Saget
dialing.
You're talking about? You're not talking about Shandling.
No, I'm talking about Bob Saget.
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah. Everything I hear from people is how much they miss. They talk to him every week. They talk to him every other night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, where does he get the time? He's doing full-time stand-up.
Speaking of stand-up, so the quick thing I wanted to tell you about Howie Mandel on this Bill Maher podcast was Howie Mandel's another guy that I saw pretty much from the very beginning when he broke into stand-up in the early 80s, late 70s, but it was probably very early 80s when I first saw him on HBO. He was telling a story about he was in Toronto at Yuck Yucks Comedy Club, right? And he's with a couple of buddies, and he ends up getting on stage.
Was it a dare?
It was a dare.
Yeah.
He had no interest in being in comedy. Just wasn't even on the radar. He gets up there, he says, and he's standing there, and all of a sudden there's the lights. Yeah. And he's sort of like frozen. He doesn't know what, to do. And all of a sudden he gets very anxious and nervous, and he starts going, what, and he's laughing and being kind of good. And you realize later, he says, if you see any of my early YouTube videos,
that's his character.
But that's what it grew out of. And even more mind-blowing, he reaches into his pocket and pulls out what? A pair of rubber gloves.
That he
and
Bill Maher's
like, you had rubber. Yeah, because he was OCD from the very beginning. And when he went into public restrooms, he didn't want to touch anything. And of course, anybody that's seen those old bits of his,
right?
He did this thing where he blew up the rubber glove on his head, and and the fingers would expand. Yeah, it was just crazy. So then he's like, "Good night," and then the club promoter was like, "You got to come back tomorrow and do that again." He's like, "Do what? What did I do?" And the rest is history. But just fascinating.
My first night on stage. I had actually two first nights that I consider. My very first night was at a comedy club called Bonkers there in Orlando. And there was a strip joint next to it. And on Tuesday
also
nights,
called Bonkers.
I don't even remember what the strip joint was called, but on Tuesday nights they had open mic. And the strip show started at like 9.
No, wait. They had the mic at the strip club or the Bonkers?
No, there were two different rooms. There was Bonkers, and then it was the same guy that owned the building.
Oh, so they're in the same building.
They're in the same building.
Is that where I saw you in Bonkers?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Okay. So Bonkers is here, and right beside it is another room. There's a hallway between the two.
Right.
So the comedy show starts at 8 and the strip show starts at 9. So this is my first night. I get there and you have to sign in. And the guy's looking at it and he's like, I'm just telling you, 42. Here's the list. And he starts reading off 42 guys that were going on stage.
42?
42 for open mic night. So he starts reading the list. Number 42, Michael Smith.
Wow.
Okay, that's the night. And I'm like, I'm closing. I'm closing the joint.
Now, what do you get? What do you get? A minute? 3 minutes? Maybe? You couldn't have that much time.
Yeah, it was 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You got to flash at 3, be off at 5. I did 20 minutes. I was so.
How did they let you do 20 minutes?
Because I did it in 5. I was like talking so fast.
I see what you're saying. Right.
But I got up and, first of all, the show starts, right? And the first comedians are like the guys that are there and they know the owner and everything else. They were the ones that got those first few slots. At 8:00, everybody in the joint gets up, over to the strip club.
You mean 9:00?
9:00, right. Yeah. There's about, I'd say, 6 people left. 2 of them people I worked with. So there's 6 people left, right? And I'm hanging in there. I went on at 3:00 in the morning.
Wow.
And I had to work the next day. So I'm sitting there. And this juggler gets up in front of me, okay, just to let you know. And there's one guy, we're down to now 4 people. There's one guy in the front row laughing at everything. belly laugh, right? And at one point, one of the last 5 guys, he's like, oh, I got to go take a piss. And he leaves and he comes back, right? So comes to number 42. There's a couple, my 2 friends, and Chucklehead there. And he goes, okay, Michael Smith, come on up. They give me the mic.
And the guy's totally silent. Let me guess.
No, the guy gets up and leaves.
Oh, he left.
And I look at the people. I go, he's not just taking a piss. He's gone. The moral of the story is, the comics hang out in the back.
Yeah.
I was sitting with a guy from work in the crowd.
On a
so when they announced me, that I came out of the crowd, and he was like, whoa, it's an audience member is going to do a bit. Anyways, I do my shtick, and I'm sitting there, and then I'm like, all the comedians are in the back. I should be hanging out in the back. I'm a comedian. Yeah, right. So I get up and I go in the back, and I'm, trying to make chit chat or whatever. And they go, and I said, hey guys, you guys all did great, thanks, and I'm getting ready to leave, and this guy goes, no, wait. And I said, well, yeah, I'm waiting for a friend. And he's like, no, you got to wait. And I said, why is that? He said, because you won, the contest. So they announce me and they say, the next Jay Leno, everybody, Michael Smith. So that was juxtapose those 2 nights. One night I'm like, I'm never doing this again. This is this is horrifying. And then the next night I win, the contest out of guys that had gone on, had been doing it for like a year.
Yeah.
So that was
one of those gentlemen's name was Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
All right. So
let's move this.
Let's go into
along.
Well, we wanted to, by the time you hear this, we will have already, as will millions of other people have already seen the new Kenobi series on Disney Plus, and we will have gotten the first 2 episodes because of whatever the delay is, and
right,
it's supposed to be on
back to back.
Yeah, it was supposed to be May 25th, but anyway, so it's coming on the 27th. So we will have already seen that. We'll have to give our take on that the next episode, but
yeah.
So I'm excited about that, but we've been consuming a bunch of other streaming series too.
Yeah.
You've been doing, we've been doing some of the same ones. Obviously, Better Call Saul, which as soon as I get off air, I'm going to be catching up on that, the mid-season finale.
Yes.
And Barry, of course, on HBO Max. Bill Hader's show is incredible.
Yeah, Barry's good, but it's not in the league of those other shows.
What other shows?
And I'll like Saul and the other ones that.
I think it is
talking about.
I think it is.
But I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. They purposely back themselves into a corner every show, and the formula is starting to get old with me. Where it's like, okay, he's going to back himself into a corner. How do they get out of this corner?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's entertainment, intrigue in that. But it's starting to wear off. We're in the 3rd season.
Give it some time.
Hopefully it's in the beginning. It's a great show. It's about tell what it's about, because just the premise is very funny.
Yeah. So Bill Hader is a former Marine, if you can say that. I don't know. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Dad would be quick to correct. So, yes. And he's coming back from a tour of duty over in like Afghanistan or whatever.
Right.
And he connects. The only person there to greet him when he gets home is like his father's friend. It's not even a blood relative. But he refers to him as like his uncle.
His uncle.
Time.
Yeah.
Right.
See, now who's dragging this out now?
I'm not dragging anything out. I am now because you interrupted me.
And you could say that in one.
I was going to say he hooks up with this guy Fuchs, who basically puts him to work as a hitman.
Right.
Period. End of sentence. But thanks for derailing that for 5 minutes.
No, what you should have said, it's a hitman that wants to be an actor.
You have any other cluck stories we can hear about?
No.
Or, when you went up on stage at Chuckles Jesus
No,
Christ,
all
folks.
you had to say was it's the story of a hitman that wants to be an actor.
Are you shitting me? Go back to some of the previous episodes and listen to your diatribes about all the different films we reviewed. It was like, good God, man.
Yeah, but
I had to get to a point where we said, just read the Wikipedia summary.
We're reviewing the films and you want a synopsis of the film. You can't do that.
Yeah, a synopsis,
right.
A brief summary.
Yeah,
not an essay.
I would do. You know, there's 86 shows and you want me to do it in 30 seconds.
Agree to disagree, folks. Agree to disagree. Hey, I was wondering how you were doing. I was going to check in on you because I was a little concerned and make sure that, you're doing okay. But, Pete Davidson, of course, has said his farewells on Saturday Night Live. I just, wanted to check in, make sure.
A lot of tears.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of tears, a lot of sniffles.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Mooney left.
Kyle Mooney. I mean, I like Kyle Mooney.
Yeah.
In 9 years, that's a really long stretch to be there. So, it's time to move on.
Especially to survive. He basically survived 9 years. I don't know.
Kate McKinnon, it was like definitely time to go. Expiration date
3
had
years
come and
ago.
gone on that.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And nothing against her. It's just like, okay, I get it. And she was, you could have hired 5 new, performers,
right?
And given all the characters she played.
And has one of her movies done anything? Not a one.
I don't think so, huh?
Ghostbusters is you didn't even see that, I don't think.
No, I didn't.
Total dog.
I didn't see it. No.
And all of hers are just. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
She probably should have stayed with SNL.
What
80 Bryant's got another show.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen it.
Yeah, and it's probably not long for this world, I would imagine.
I don't know.
But at least Keenan's coming back for his 18th season. So Keenan Thompson.
No, it's more than that.
No,
19.
It isn't. It's like it's like 15 or something like that.
No, it's you were right. It's like 18.
Really?
I think it's 19. Yeah.
I thought I was just making that up.
No, I looked it up.
So, where are you headed now? You going to play some Lego Star Wars?
I don't know. We've both been playing that. I'm ahead of you now. How did I get ahead of you?
Well, because you play it more than I do, but I didn't ask you. Are you playing it on Xbox?
No, I'm playing it on the Switch.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But exact same.
Handheld or you're docking it to the TV?
I dock it. I'm not a big handheld
It's
person.
good. I mean, I'm enjoying it. Look, it's, in fact, I just got an email. I just saw an email saying, I think there's a new Call of Duty coming, Modern Warfare 2, I think.
So is that going to take you off the...
Well, it usually doesn't come out until November. So I haven't read it in detail, but I think that's what it's about. But that it's been hard to get me into anything other than that. If I'm going to sit and play a video game, it's always Call of Duty.
Right.
And I have these awesome, as an avid NHL fan, and I can't even sit and play the NHL games as good as those are.
Right.
As good as those are. But something about I was listening to Rebel Force Radio talking about Lego Star Wars, the video game. And I don't know, something about it. I said, let me check it out. And sure enough, I bought it instantly. And
you got it before me.
Yeah.
And I was just finishing up a Nintendo game called Kirby and the Forgotten World or something.
Yeah.
And I needed something new.
Right.
And you told me about this game. It was sold out everywhere.
Right.
Like the deluxe version I couldn't even get.
Well, and I thought like me, you were but you're true to your physical media obsessive self.
I got
and you had to go get I just bought the download. But I was playing it pretty consistently for that first stretch. And what I like about it is, first of all, it's fun. And so it's not,
there's a lot of humor in there.
Call of Duty, like gets your nerves frayed after a short period of time when and I've been playing that for years, but but I like that, the game itself is fun. It's very, very well done. And you go through the whole series of films, the whole franchise, basically.
And you can take them in different orders.
You can, yeah.
You can start with the Phantom Menace,
but the game is fun to play, but the sort of vignettes in between the action, right? The little movie, bits that they do, kind of like on your pinball machine,
right?
You get those little segments where it's clips from the film.
That's right. That's right.
And I told you, and then you of course have since seen it, but the one clip where they're on the Falcon and Han says punch it.
Right.
And then Chewie punches C-3PO in the head. Those little Lego bits are really, really funny.
And there's a lot of something missed.
And it's good for, it's not a mature rated game. So
no,
the family could dive into that and play it, enjoy it.
But I think, to get the full humor out of, what's going on, you would have to have seen the movies.
Yeah. Oh,
and
sure.
I'm telling you, so far, I did 44% on the first game.
There's so much we haven't covered.
Right. 44 in the second. And then the Return of the Jedi, I only did 30%.
And that's always the sign of a great game, though. It shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be. It's got to be somewhere in the middle, right? You don't want it so complex and complicated that it's frustrating,
Yeah, constantly. Like the one thing is you never die.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? If you die, you just come right back.
Right.
Which in the old days, remember Mario Brothers?
Dude.
Super Mario Brothers, if you died and you were at the very last second against Bowser,
you were done.
All the way back to the beginning.
Dude, it was, at least a week off of school, calling in sick. I mean, I did that with Wimbledon tennis, Nintendo tennis.
Wow.
In fact, my friend Randy and I beat that. And I'll never forget. I think I told you the story once. We had won. This took us hours playing doubles, right? Like he and I were on the same team playing doubles. And we won the Wimbledon championship.
Right.
And we leapt up to celebrate and knocked the cord out.
Power comes out.
And the power. And we lost. And back then you didn't have cell phones. You couldn't even capture, you'd have to take a Polaroid of it or something.
And it's funny.
And it didn't save. We didn't save the game.
Right.
We didn't even save it. So,
there was Activision had a couple of games that like Dragster. If you got a certain speed.
Pole position.
Yeah. If you got a certain speed, you were to take a picture of the screen and mail it in for some contest. But yeah, because there's no cell phone.
Dragster, barnstorming.
What
was the bomb one? The bombs.
No, not Bomberman.
Not Bombs Away. What was that one?
That was with the with the paddles.
The paddles,
you had to catch the bombs as they were coming.
Right.
Activision really, made Atari.
I was updating the website and I was kind of going down memory lane of some of the arcade and video game. Like we've been at this for years and years and years, seeing almost every iteration of every gaming system that's ever come along, especially you.
I think I've owned them all.
Yeah. And some of the greatest, like obviously the original Atari 2600, Intellivision, which again, did you ever own an Intellivision? I only knew somebody that had one.
Yeah, I owned one, but
Commodore. Did we have a Commodore 64? I don't think
Probably not.
But we had what a lot of people probably didn't have was the Atom computer. I can remember. Now, who put out the Atom computer? Do you remember?
Coleco.
That was Coleco. So
ColecoVision.
Dude, I remember the Atom computer. I thought, now this is way pre-internet. So it's connected to nothing.
Well, you could connect it to a phone eventually.
Yeah, it had the modem.
Phone modem. Yeah.
Phone modem. Dude, you would have thought I was Matthew Broderick in War Games with this thing. Like I would sit, remember we had it down in the basement in the laundry room set up in there.
Yeah.
And I used to, this is really sad, but I was really into listening to the police scanner at that time. Cause Dad always had a scanner
right
in the house. And I ended up getting a handheld one at some point, and then I was fascinated with the CB radio, Citizens Band radio for, hey, good looking. We'll be back to pick you up later. We got a great big convoy, Mr. Microphone. But I remember using the Atom to create like a database of people in the neighborhood and stuff. Like it was like this CSI file or something.
Yeah.
That I don't know. It was so bizarre. It had the tape. It had the cassette.
It had a tape drive.
The analog.
And eventually they came out with a disc drive. But the first Atom was a expansion module. You plugged it into your ColecoVision. Like they started with the 2600 expansion module. You could plug that into your Coleco and play Atari games on ColecoVision. But of course, that started a big lawsuit because Atari's like, hey, you can't steal our gaming system. And then there was Turbo.
Yes.
That was expansion module 2.
Turbo.
And then Atom was No, there was Slither, which was a trackball. See, I mean, my brain, that's every home system.
Yeah. Well, to me, what moved the needle for me was, and you know this, the Sega Master System.
Yeah,
when I got that thing, and I spoiled that surprise. I knew that was coming, along with that stereo that I got and that big stereo cabinet.
Yeah.
It was, I went rifling around in mom and dad's closet, and that's where a lot of those gifts were sitting unwrapped because they would spend the night before wrapping for 3 hours.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing that, and but it was so sleek and so different in the color, the black, and those controllers were awesome on that system too. Love that system. Quick story about that stereo that I got for Christmas, by the way. Did I tell you that? That was the one where, again, I grew up in a hallway. I was born and raised in a hallway of our house.
I was in the hallway before you. So
were you though?
I was.
I don't know.
I can remember. In fact, I'm sitting in the movie room.
Yeah.
And right to my right is that hallway, which I can remember rocking as a baby till I was slamming the crib against the wall until mom would come and rub my back. That's how
not a lot has changed.
Anxious I was. It started when I was a child.
Right. He's still doing it. But I had so there's this little nook. It's like this cutaway that you could just fit a crib or a single bed at one point, right? And then it was the hall, and it led out into the one bathroom that we all shared.
Oh my!
And then against the wall, you could maybe put some sort of piece of furniture. And I had my dresser there, and I had this big, huge stereo cabinet there, which had the glass door and everything. So at night, I would lay in bed with the headphones on like this and listen to whatever I was listening to, probably Bruce or something. Right. And Dad comes walking because his room was, down the steps
where I am,
where you are actually, right?
Yeah.
And before it got converted,
right?
And he would be in his skivvies, as he would call it. He'd be in his underwear, and he would be going to make a trip to the bathroom. Well, he doesn't know I've got this, this tripwire, basically my headphone tripwire set up. He comes walking all confident, slams into the glass. Pulls the stereo cabinet out of the pulls the stereo out of the cabinet.
So you had the glass open?
Oh yeah, glass was up. Well, because it wouldn't close because the headphones were plugged in.
You were trying to kill him, old man.
So he slams into it. And then of course he always had a choice set of words, some God damn, you son of a Christ, you Mary, it was always something. Oh my God. But anyways, yeah, you've had Vectrex was another great system.
I still have that.
Oh God, it's such a good one.
In fact, most of these systems, I don't have the Master System.
Yeah.
Don't think I used to lug the Coleco in the box.
Great system.
I lugged it from here to Orlando to San Diego. And then finally, when I moved to Pittsburgh, I said, I can't take all this stuff.
Those Coleco controllers.
Oh, they were
rough,
terrible. They
rough.
were terrible.
It was like a controller and a paddle sort of hybrid.
Yeah.
And it was like playing air hockey. Those things were like tear up your knuckles and whatever. All right. Anything else to that you wanted to get out of your?
Just since we're, the Oh Brother podcast, have you seen any movies?
Look at that. That's a gem right there.
Yeah. Any movies you want to recommend to people?
Any movies? And we ought to do. I'm looking at this mug we have, this new mug, and for those of you that are looking at our new logo, I'd be curious to see how many references people can get from the artifacts that are strewn about behind us. Yeah,
all the pop culture.
Yeah, one of them I'll just say it is the kit car from Knight Rider, which I love. But anyways, great 80s show. Yeah, I saw, this is not a new film, but I saw the Ford versus Ferrari film, which I was confusing with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But anyways, so Matt Damon and Christian Bale, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thought it was a really
good movie.
Film. Yeah,
I
really
have it.
good. And then I had finished the Star Trek series with
the
Chris
new
Pine.
one with Chris Pine.
Chris Pine, yeah.
That's just
it was
a trilogy. Good. Yeah.
It was good, yeah. But isn't there talk of a fourth one? Aren't they talking about coming back? Yeah.
There's been a fourth one for 10 years. I mean, who is it? Pulp Fiction director.
Oh, yeah. Geez, wow. I was going to say Tarantino. I was going to say Guillermo del Toro or something.
He pitched a Star Trek movie that supposedly was a done deal.
Really?
They had a sequel to the Chris Pine movie, so there was going to be a fourth one. So there'll be another one eventually.
We got there's so much coming up too. I mean, we finally got the teaser for Avatar.
Yeah, Avatar 2.
Right.
Took what? How many years?
Oh, God.
Over
the first
10?
one came out in 2009, right? Yeah,
wow.
It's like 13 years.
And it looks fantastic. And
it looks great.
It's gonna drive business to your city.
And isn't that is it Zoe Saldana that is in that, right? Who's one of the Isn't Zoe Saldana?
So that's not her.
Am I saying her name right?
No,
Saldana.
So isn't it
Saldana?
Salata?
Salatza? Is it Godfather reference?
One of us.
No, Saldana. No, I know that's right.
Who's the other Zoe?
Ask your squeaky chair. See if your squeaky
Isn't
chair.
Isn't there another Zoe, not Zoe Kravitz?
Deschanel you're thinking of. Zoe Deschanel is who you're thinking of. Zoe... I think I might have. Do I have her first name? Zoe Saldana. Zoe Saldana. Yeah.
Who's the one in Guardians of the Galaxy? Isn't
did
her name?
Did she just get married? Well, that's why I'm bringing it up. It's Zoe Saldana. Oh, this has got the tilde on the end, so it's Saldana, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So she's in Guardians of the Galaxy, right?
Correct. Which I just rode the Cosmic Rewind.
That's right. Which is not even open yet.
No, it's the new Guardians coaster.
When people hear this, it'll be open.
That's right. So that was a pretty sweet take, I got to say. But I wouldn't want to wait the hours that people I know are going to be waiting in line for that ride. Hours and hours. Anything else? Any films you've seen?
No, you got I got Batman today. I'm going to give it a third run.
Nice. Okay. All right.
So
that's
I'll
fair.
let you know.
That's more than fair. You know what looks good? We'll talk about this maybe next week is the new Thor film.
Love and Thunder.
Looks like we're going to get a naked Thor. That's going to pull in some serious numbers. Like, have you seen the muscle mass that he's
big.
I mean, he's literally a superhero.
He's like a Hulk. He's paint him green.
A big fit dude.
Right.
And he's tall, but he is massive now. He put on a lot of muscle.
And they just did the trailer last night. So you must have just saw it today.
I didn't watch the trailer yet. No, I thought maybe, you've seen it already?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say we could do it.
who's the director? I always get his name wrong.
Oh, Taika Waititi. That's
Waititi.
It's not. Yeah,
right.
That's
something like that.
Not great, but yeah.
And he's in it. He plays the Rock character.
Right.
Not like the Rock, but a rock individual. But he does the dialogue, and he says, so it was the muscle Thor, and then he got fat, and then he came back to super muscle Thor.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's really funny.
It's funny you mentioned The Rock, because I would say The Rock is still bigger. Like, have you seen any clips of him filming Black Adam?
Yeah.
Enormous.
To me, that's too big. It's like got to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, but as someone who likes to lift weights, I mean, I can at least appreciate what it takes to get to that point.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I used to spend 2 hours.
And The Rock literally has a full-on gym that he travels with. It goes with him everywhere he goes.
Yeah,
which is insane. All right, listen, we're going to wrap it up. We are in.
We're in overtime.
We're in overtime, but we're back. And God, we covered a lot of ground here today. So
next show's tomorrow.
What? No.
Oh,
Jesus!
Sorry.
I need taking another break, folks.
Yeah, we're burned out again.
3 months. 3 months. But no, glad to be back.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Yep. And again,
if you hung in this long,
for those of you not currently following us, get out to the O Brother website, ohbpodcast.com. Follow us on Instagram at ohbpodcast. Engage with us. Drop us some comments. Give us some feedback. Let us know what you think of the new look.
Dan's always on. Dan's always on Instagram, and whatever gets sent to him, he shoots it to me, so I see it.
Yeah.
And it's fun when people send us little notes.
Yeah, good to be back. 100th episode in the books, and we'll be back again next week. Oh yeah, and we've got a new, which will be obvious by now, but a new release schedule. So you'll be getting new episodes each week on Monday, just in time for your morning commute, folks. And
hopefully you'll like
great way to kick off the week. Yeah,
hopefully
exactly.
New tune up front.
Yeah, we don't even, in all full transparency, don't even know what it is right now. But you will by the time you listen to this. All right, folks, thanks for listening. Been your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith. And we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
You've reached producer and cinematographer Johnny Durango. I'm unavailable right now because I'm busy listening to the Oh Brother podcast.